Edgar Allen Poe, poet, man of letters of the grotesque and the Arabics. By way of a preface to The Raven, I would just like to say there are over a dozen theories about the cause of his death. Everything from, these are published articles from 1880s to 1999. Causes being listed as cirrhosis of the liver, hypoglycemia, arrhythmia, cardiac arrhythmia, epilepsy, diabetes, and murder, homicide. What is interesting, there was no autopsy, but there was an article that appeared some 25 years ago about frontal lobe temporal epilepsy, which is manifest through certain symptoms. The kind of headaches that we all have is one, for example. The thesis of this particular essay is that he had a brain tumor that caused terrific pressure and brain swelling, especially near the end. But this brain tumor was dormant and would now and then produce the kind of symptoms such as intermittent ear ringing, kind of headaches, and feelings of elation, feelings of being exalted, and what Poe himself called frenzy, spelling it with a PH, frenzy, which is, I would think, frenetic frenzy. I think you may see some of that here, but a total preoccupation with something on his head, perched on his head, such as a black omen, this ominous bird of prey, raven, or a black cat on the top of a head. In his journals, he even has like a quote such as, "The green and climbing eyesight of a cat is coming near my mind's poor birds." Ladies and gentlemen, The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each and every separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silk and sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors I never felt before, so that to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." Then I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore," merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard the tapping somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mien of lord and lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore, though my crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered. Still I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore, startled at the stillness broken by replies so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, with this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore, meant and croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom score. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight glowed o'er, she shall press nevermore. Then methought the ear grew denser, perfumed from some unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thou God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh, quaff this kind of nepenthe, and never forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home thy horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm on earth? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, haven't you ever heard about the bird? Bird is the bird. Everyone knows bird's the word. Everyone knows that the bird's the word. Bird. Keeps going, doesn't it? Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or friend, I shrieked of starting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul had spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above the chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws a shadow on the floor, and my soul from that shadow lies floating on the door, shall be lifted nevermore, nevermore.